we have now here with us Carl van der Merwe and Andrea Benkenstein Kruger. So welcome you both here to our conference. You will talk about what is on the minds of the African Next Gen, and we are very excited about this. Let me first introduce you both. Andrea Benkenstein Kruger is an experienced family enterprise governance and succession specialist in South Africa. In her work, she focuses on the intersection of governance, succession planning, and family dynamics. She is a respected voice in succession and family enterprise resilience. And we are very happy that you are here today, Andrea. So let's continue to introduce you, Carl van der Merwe. Carl van der Merwe is the managing director of the Boplas Group, South Africa's oldest continuously family-owned agribusiness, founded in 1743, so more than 300 years, if I count this correctly. In 2021, he succeeded his father as the 9th generation leader of the company. Under his leadership, the Boplas Group has experienced significant growth while maintaining a strong focus on sustainability, governance, and long-term stewardship. And we are also very happy that you are here with us, Carl.
Thank you.
So we will start with a short introduction about your insights, Andrea, about the question, what is on the minds of the African Next Gen? And we are very excited about this, about your introduction. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the kind introduction. And it's lovely to be here and speaking on an international stage, and also learning from Henry and his experiences. So shifting the focus heavily onto Next Gen, what I've seen is where they start is which career path to follow. So we've seen 5 different career paths that Next Gen follows. So the first one being the steward. So of course, taking the family business forward, making sure it's sustainable, it's growing, it's healthy, being able to pass it on to their next generation. Then another path they follow is the entrepreneur. So that is starting a new business under the family wing, a new division, a new product with the family backing. Or the other one is being a transformer, coming in, transforming the business completely, giving it the total facelift. The fourth one we've seen is being an entrepreneur, but not using the family money, doing it outside, no ties back to the family. That is usually when they want to stand on their own 2 feet, their own identity. They don't want the pressure of the family name, albeit it will be on them, but they want to do it away from the family. And then, of course, just if they have their own careers, studied something totally different that can't be utilized within the family business. So I've seen those are the 5 main career choices that they take. Sometimes they flip-flop between those. It's not necessarily only the one career path. So maybe starting with their own career and then coming back, etc. So while going through that process of thinking which career path, where should I go, there are so many different questions that goes into and that's on the mind of the next gen. For instance, will they be respected? Will they be able to live out their passion? Will they be able to create an impact? Because if the culture is more, you say as I do, don't bring in too drastic new changes, they maybe won't be able to have the greatest impact that they want. Will their partner support them? That is also a very, very big one, because for any family business, you'll know it's not an 8 to 5 job. It's there constantly. It's a 24/7. If there was 27 hours in a day, it would be 27/7. The one family I spoke to and worked with, the wife came to me and she's like, so when does a board meeting end? I'm like, I don't understand what you mean. And she said, no, the board meeting it was the Friday afternoon, but they kept on speaking about it the Friday night. The Sunday, they continued speaking about it at the braai. The Sunday, they continue speaking about it at church. So that is typically family businesses. It never stops. So are you ready for that? Is your spouse and your partner ready for that? And will they support you? Because you need their support in a family business. Then will you be able to work with your uncles or your aunts, with your cousins? What's that dynamic like, and the relationships? So there's many different things going on. Of course, as Henry also touched on, is the founder ready to hand over? But then I've seen more recently, is the next gen ready to take it on? Do they want to? Is the pressure too much? Is there too much different voices and guidelines and values that they need to reform to, that they're not ready to take forward? Because it's really, if you lead the family business, it's immense pressure. And I don't think they always appreciate, the other families always appreciate it, because they say, but you get your salary. But it's the accountability, the responsibility, the legacy, all of that that you're taking forward. So it's a both sides. It's the founder and the next gen. So what is keeping them awake at night? I've done quite some research in the past 2-3 years, and I'm just going to touch on some of the topics. So the one is spouses, as I mentioned. What's their role? Where do they fit in? May they work for the family business? May they work in any venture, even philanthropy? May they sit on the board as a non-exec? May they be a part of the trust or not, a trustee or even a beneficiary? So what is the role of a spouse? And if, for instance, if you look at agriculture, if they live on the farm and something were to happen to the spouse, how soon should they leave the farm? May they stay on? Is it a year until they find a new property? Having open discussions with the spouses about their role, where they fit in, and expectations is extremely important, because it can derail a whole generation going from one to the next. Then talking about information sharing, very important. When do they share information? How often? What type of information? Again, may you speak to your spouse about this information? May you speak to your children about this information? Is there information sessions and days where they bring in the whole family? When's the board meetings? When's the management meetings? When do they have trustee meetings if there's a trust? And making it as transparent as possible, for the process and for the whole system, so that everybody's aware. Then the next one is remuneration. It's also a very sticky conversation in families, and I've seen different thought patterns around remuneration. So of course, the main one being remunerated fairly, market related, same as any other person. But I've recently worked with a family where they say, why would we have a family business if we don't remunerate our family members more? So that was also quite interesting to debate that at quite at length. Other families saying, no, but you have to do it for cheaper, your family, because your family, you need to get paid less, where I strongly disagree with that one. Because it's someone's taking risk, they're taking that responsibility, accountability, etc. So really having a conversation about remuneration as a family. Where do you stand? What's your view? Does it align with your values? And is everybody okay with it? Then roles. Roles is always an extremely important one. And especially those who are not working in the business. What is their role? Do they want to have a role? Making sure you're creating inclusivity, that it's not only the people that's active in the business that have a role, because there's a lot of different other roles, from communication within the family days, social media, philanthropy. There's so many other roles that also get touched on, where you can pull in different passions and different experiences and different just studies. So make sure you have clear conversations around roles. And then your investment strategy, your path going forward, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Do you want to invest in other ventures? May family members bring their own family ideas to the fore? Will you invest in it? Is the investment committee for family ideas, like a Dragon's Den? Do you want to take more money offshore, more locally? Where are you going, and what is the legacy you want to leave? And having that as a conversation as a family as a whole. I've worked with families where there's 3 generations in the same room, and it sparks quite interesting debate to where you want the money to flow and where it needs to grow. Then coming back to Africa and the next gens and the cultural differences and norms, you can think throughout Africa, it's quite big. There's a lot of different tribes, there's different villages, there's different traditions, and as I agree with Henry, that is the backbone and the unspoken rules. Is that culture and religion that plays into it. As you've most probably also heard, the 5 or the 6 capitals of wealth, that spirituality can also be one of them, and a very, very strong pulling force of the family and taking it forward. So the one family I worked with, it was quite strict, the oldest male taking it forward. But after the family business taking quite a big knock because of that reason, the father changed it to the youngest daughter, just because she was the most capable. She was what the family business needed, and she had the experience in the family business and the trade and the industry that the family business needed, and it is extremely successful at the moment. So there, he changed course. He actually changed it 2 to 3 times, who the MD was, or the managing director of the family business and of the group, until he found the right fit. The other family I worked with, the oldest male, again, he was the managing director. Again, the business was taking a different route. It was South African company. The other one was West Africa. And they said, okay, whatever they need to do to take the business forward, that it's successful. And they were 4 brothers, and they all went for aptitude tests, all the different tests you needed to, and obviously looking at what the experiences and the qualifications, etc. And there at the end, the youngest son was the best fit. And the father said the son should take it forward. And the oldest brother actually had to pass the baton to the youngest brother, which was also a very big thing to do. And for him to accept that and step down. The other one was, again, it was the oldest son thought he's taking it forward, but then the second eldest, which was the daughter, she took it forward, South African company, because the father decided that she was the best for the family business. Because a lot of the times, what we see works well is what's best for the business is also best for the family. Of course, family members might be not always as supportive, maybe jealous. There might be a lot of emotions involved. But at the end of the day, if the business thrives, the family thrives as well, because there's more roles available, more employment, usually more money. So putting that hat on what's the best for the business might be really the best decision. And sometimes the families think, okay, so going from the founder to the second generation, we got this, we nailed it, it went well, the succession was successful. But going from one gen to the next, for instance, going from second to third, third to fourth, the complexity increases tremendously. That is why having Carl on this call is amazing, and having the oldest family, South African family business, because the world changes, cultures change, the values change, how they grow up changes. If you think the millennials growing up in the technology business. So yeah, that is just a short little view of South Africa and the rest of Africa.
Thank you so much, Andrea, for those insights and giving us the examples and giving us the points. I noted them down, the points that the South African Next Gen think about and should think about. And we would like to ask you, Carl, you joined your family business many years ago. And can you tell us a bit about your family business and about your succession story.
Yes, thank you for your time and for having me. Our family business, Boplaas, was established in 1743. So succession is not a new event for us. It's something that has happened repeatedly over almost 300 years. I'm part of the 10th generation and one of 4 brothers currently involved in our family business. What's important is that none of us were ever forced into the family business. My father was very intentional about that. We were raised to build our own careers first and only join the family business if it felt like a conscientious choice, like we want to be part of the business. So it's not obligation or safety net. So yeah, all 4 of us started in completely different directions. I was in marketing. There was an aviation brother, a medicine brother, and the last one in agri. And over time, quite naturally, all of us found our way back to the family business. Not because we had to, but because we wanted to. Succession for us was never a single handover moment as well. It has been a long process of learning, providing ourselves, building trust, and gradually taking over responsibility from the previous generation. We see ourselves not as owners, but as custodians of the business. Our job is not to preserve the business exactly as it was, but to make sure it remains a strong, relevant, and a transferable business for generations to come.
Yes. And tell us a bit more about your family business.
Yeah, so our family business is in the agri sector. So we started farming in the Bokerveld region of the Western Cape in South Africa. Back in the day with cattle and maize. We were one of the first pear production units in the area. So we started with pear production, later on apple production. So when I joined the family business in 2007, it was a apple farm in the Bokerveld region. And from there on, we had to diversify a bit more to stay relevant, to grow the business. So yeah, we grew into different regions. We grew into different commodities. We've got citrus and peaches, apples and pears currently part of the business, and we also vertically integrated the marketing side of things and pack houses and all that into the business. So yeah, primarily it's a production business, but in future, obviously the growth will grow more into marketing and more packing facilities, etc.
Okay, interesting.
To our audience, please feel free, if you have any questions for Carl or Andrea, please pop them into our Q&A section. We'll come back to them later. Another question to you, Carl. You applied for an entry-level job in your family firm to kind of legitimate your place in the family business. We've already heard that from other speakers of our conference this year, and they told us how crucial that is. Why was, for you personally, proving yourself so important, and would you advise that to other next gens as well?
Yeah, in a family business, unfortunately, your surname walks into the room before you do. And I was very aware of that. My father was clear. The family business will never be our backup plan. Before joining, we had to work at least 3 years, as I said, somewhere else. We had to apply for a available position. Nothing will be created for us. We had to be interviewed, and you need to start from the bottom up. I worked at Barloworld's Motor Group in South Africa before I joined. So it's in the motor industry, and I quite literally started by cleaning out the parts room in that company as well. And that experience was incredibly important for me personally, not because it was a glamorous position, but because it taught me discipline, accountability, and how credibility is earned in a company. So when I later joined the family business, I followed the same principles. Starting at entry level wasn't symbolic, it was practical. You cannot lead people you don't understand, and you cannot expect respect without earning it. So that was my motto, and to work my way up. So would I advise other next gens to do the same? I won't prescribe a single path, but I would strongly advise finding a way to earn legitimacy independently through outside experience, clear accountability, and being measured by the same standards as everyone else in the company. So in succession, credibility is more important than authority for me.
And were there any tests you had to do before entering or while entering, or assessments or something like this?
Yeah, so I think it was more when my second or third brother joined the business a few years later. We did that Gallup strength finding questionnaire. It's an online questionnaire. I'm not sure from which university in the world created it, but it focuses on your strong points and what you can bring to the business. So yeah, so obviously my father always, before we joined the business, said to us that you need to have a degree, you need to work for at least 3 years for another company, not in the same industry. As I said before, we weren't raised to join the business, but just at least work for someone else. And I think the tests that I'm referring to now is just to see how we can complement each other in business as brothers. So that we can, if there's a crisis, for example, we know I can handle that better than brother number 2 and number 3. And if there's a new development or new company we would like to acquire, we know brother 3 is better with that than brother 1 or whatever. So it was more just to align our strategy in who handles what in the business, so that we complement each other and not work against each other.
And because you're talking about your brothers, and your father is still the chairperson, if I'm right, yes. So please tell us how you work together as brothers. Is this, you're describing it quite easy, but I think there must be also challenges when the brothers are working together.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to say and lie today. It's all good every day, every minute. But I think we found over years that working together and building the company on each other's strong points, rather working against each other, is what makes us winners and makes us different from our competition. So yeah, I think we early on we governance and more. I normally say, quote, that corporate governance was for us important since I joined the company. I think Andrea said it as well, having clear roles, having external people on the board as well, having external people helping with remuneration packages, etc. So luckily, the government side of things, the governance side of things was there from day one. So we joined the business with that, and we still thrive and work with that today. So all of us have clear roles, and there's clear respect for that as well, because everyone started from the bottom. You decided your own path into the business and how far you can go in your personal capacity. Not all of us can be managing directors. Not all of us can be the best farmers. So, but you decide what route you would like to follow personally to grow into the business. I think the second good thing for me with us four is that we only see each other 3-4 times a month. We 250 kilometers apart in the business. We all have clear roles, as I said before. So yeah, I think it's nice that we don't have to see each other every day and work too closely, because I've seen that also as a challenge in the past. And thirdly, we from day one said no spouses join the business. I think it's just better for us, so that when I go home, I can go and talk to my wife and talk about the business, but she's not involved. It doesn't affect her life. She can give me some direction, cool down, wait till tomorrow before we reply. So I think that's currently what works for us in the business. But yeah, trust and respect. We're still young. I mean, I'm the oldest and I'm 40, and so it's luckily we grew from that early young stage where your male dominance is important and you want to make what you say is right. I think we went through a bit of that. And then, yeah, I think lastly, I just want to add, my dad always used this different hat system. He introduced that to us when we were younger. So you've got your employee hat when you're at work. You've got your family hat when we talk family, like my wife or my children or my brother's wife, and you've got your shareholders hat. So we'll even last week when we're in a meeting, we'll stop the conversation and say, okay, which hat is on now? Is it the family? Is it the employee? Because that's you need to respect which hat you've got on, and from which side are you viewing it, and that also helps us a lot. The different hat system. I think yeah, you can be mad when you've got your employee hat on and there's an employee difference, but 5 minutes later, when I put my family hat on, I can ask my brother again, "How's your wife or your children?" It's then a different scenario, different story.
Yeah, Carl, you've talked about spouses. Andrea, maybe to bring you in the conversation again, that's kind of a hot topic. You've already mentioned that in your speech in the beginning as well. How is it normally handled in families you work with, and do you maybe have any specific example of how it was managed successfully, apart from Carl? Carl's family.
So I've also had with a lot of the farms, I've had no spouses. So that is also a very strong one coming through. In areas we've challenged them because they didn't have the competency because they were in rural areas. So and the wife was a chartered accountant, the other wife was a lawyer, and they couldn't find good lawyers and chartered accountants. I'm like, they're right there, but you said they might not work in the business. But then in those instances, you need very clear guidelines and rules and what may you share and what can't you share. And understanding if you take this role, you can't take things personally. You can't, and you husband and wife can't report to each other, having that reporting lines, someone in the middle, having HR involved as well, and respecting the process. So not then saying, no, but I'm going to my husband, I'm going to the grandfather XYZ because you're unhappy. So we've seen spouses getting involved, but then having very, very clear lines.
Yes. Let's come back to one thing. We were surprised, but not surprised in the way. But it surprised us entrepreneurial because I think you took a high risk in introducing a completely new venture. I'm not sure if it's a high risk, but you started chronico cannabis production. Is this right? So
Yes.
what made this decision? And I think it was your decision, if I'm correct. How did you convince the others? How did you convince your father to do this?
Yeah, we still are a very conservative family, so it was a totally different direction for the family. I always had the motto I think I learned that from the Barloworld Motor Group where I worked and started my career, is that diversification is that's the success at the end. You need to be able, especially in agri, be able to handle different situations daily, monthly, yearly. So, yeah, I think back in the day, we started this conversation about medical grade cannabis growing in South Africa in 2018. And at that stage, it was fairly new for the world. It was, well, very new for South Africa. It was just legalized that you can grow medical grade production. So yeah, I felt it's still in agri, so it's still part of our focus area, still where we want to grow. It was fairly new to the world. It was a very, very big risk, and I think it was still a big risk for me till up until a year ago. I thought I made a mistake. It's not an easy area in the world to enter. I mean, it's very regulated. And you think because you grow a plant in a very confined space and closed space, you can get it right from day one. It took us a few years to get that right. So yeah, it was a difficult one to convince. I think financially it made sense that on a fairly small scale compared to the rest of our agribusiness, it can be big enough to be able to be another pillar of support to the company. Yeah, and it's something totally different that we do, and we've seen in other parts of the world, and I think it's still going to grow. Even on the agri side, we are forced to go naturally more and more, less pesticides, more organic. So that's the whole medical cannabis side for me was the organic side of the medical industry for me as well. Isn't that the future? Can't we use the nature to cure a few of the diseases and pains, etc. And I think it's still in its infant stage of where it can go. So yeah, luckily it's still part of the business. It took us 6 years to get to a point where it really started exciting us. We're busy expanding our operations. Yeah, but yeah, for a conservative family to say, and even Afrikaans family to say that we are in the cannabis industry, still raises eyebrows.
Yes, yes. So we wish you good luck in this area. And the last question for today to you and also to you, Andrea. So the question is the same. Which practical advice would you give other next gens? So one advice, if it's only one advice, in terms of succeeding into their family business, what should they really should do? Carl, do you want to start?
No, Carl, you can go.
Yo, Andrea, thanks. Yo, it's a difficult one. It's really difficult, and I think I've also listened to Henry, one of the previous speakers, and for me, the founder readiness was in our favor, and I think that started the conversation and the trust between my brothers and the current generation. So, yeah, I think communication for me is very important. Since they want to have clear communication, clear guidelines, what the current generation's needs are. If I retire, am I financially dependent on the business? How do I see the future of the business, etc. And then from the next generation to then share with each other how they see the business and want to grow the business.
Yes.
It's just examples for me of communication. So yeah, clear communication, clear guidelines, I will say is what can help to succeed.
Thank you very much, Carl. Andrea, do you have another tip there next to communication?
I think the main thing is having the next gen, having the courage to pull that difficult conversations forward. I've seen a lot of the older gen, they don't want to talk about it, or there's certain areas they don't want to talk about out of respect. The next gen then don't go there. But I challenge the next gen to ask difficult questions. If you want to see what's in the will, if you don't understand, which roles are for whom, what's the next 5 or 10 years, what does it look like? Ask the tough questions because you need to know. I remember I asked my father, what was it, 2016, I want to see him in my mom's will. And he was like, you can't ask me something like that. That is horrible. You don't ask parents to see their will. But I have a handicapped sister. And I was like, but I want to understand. If I have to look after, I need to understand the medical history. She's had a lot of operations, etc. And for me to take that successfully forward, I need to have a lot of understanding. And then, after a lot of fighting, he actually shared it. But I mean, just have the courage, ask the questions.
Thank you so much to both of you, Andrea and Carl, for sharing your thoughts, your insights. This was very interesting. Thank you very much for your time and being here, a part of our Congress 2026. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Pleasure. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.